alert. Proceed with caution. Major reveals ahead. This episode contains spoilers for movies and possible TV shows. So if you haven't caught up yet, hit pause and come back when you're ready. Otherwise, strap in. We're about to unpack everything. Enjoy.
Lights go down, the screen comes alive. Got my ticket ready for the ride. Is it a hit or is it just a mess? We're breaking it down, see it with a diss or a kiss. From the silver screen to the TV guide, nowhere left for bad script to hide.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of The Real Movie Critics, real reviews by real fans. Yes, don't adjust your screens. We will be scuba-less this week. He had some prior obligations that he had to take care of, but he did send us his review and his score for the show, so we will read that later on. As always, with me is the Psycho Nerd, repeat movie viewer, all that fun shit he does. I do want to warn you before we start, and I did put this in the beginning of this episode, spoilers are coming. There are spoilers, so you've been warned. This is your last chance to back out, watch the movie, and then come back and listen to our review. But again, this is going to be a review of Spider-Man Brand New Day, just dropped this weekend on July 31st, 2026. Directed by Destin Daniel Cretton with a budget of $225 million. Opening weekend, and it's still kind of going on because it's almost 10 o'clock here when we're recording on a Sunday. Domestically, $355 million in one weekend, $927 million worldwide. Holy fuck. Now, before I talk about the cast of this movie, I do want to say this.
Check this out.
Yeah.
This is the 11 o'clock show at the Draft House. You see all those black dots? Those are seats sold.
Yep. I believe
this
it.
Movie is banking, man. It's
now,
banking.
here's my thing, though. And again, I'm not saying that Spider-Man and He-Man they're not great movies. They're both great movies. But why couldn't He-Man get these kind of numbers?
You know what? It's a mystery this summer. Some of the movies that I was most anticipating that I thought were going to be the big, money makers, some of them just didn't deliver. He-Man was one. The other one was Supergirl. I have my reservations about that movie, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. People just did not flock to the theaters to go watch this movie. Word of mouth gets out very quickly nowadays. And
True.
if you have enough people that are saying didn't like it, didn't care for, whatever, if the consensus is overly negative and people don't have a lot of money to play with nowadays, they're going to bypass it and just think, you know what? Let it wait till it hits streaming. And I'd be willing to bet some of those movies like He-Man, I hear it's doing pretty well right now on streaming.
Yep, it is.
Some of these other ones are going to do the exact same thing. Once they hit, they're going to explode to some extent.
That's disappointing because He-Man was fucking amazing. Supergirl was not at the level Superman was when it came out a year ago, but it's a mental health movie, and I can get behind it. But you got movies like Obsession, which Obsession was a great fucking flick. Take nothing from it, but it had like very little hype. I didn't know anything about it except for what you told me when you saw Fantastic Fest. So, and it's already on streaming and it's doing just as well there. And they're talking about making a sequel to it, which I think is stupid.
Yep. No, they're making a sequel. They're bringing back Mickey one.
No, it's over. Let it be.
I disagree. I completely disagree. I think there's a lot of things they could do with this, but not make Nikki the main focus.
Well, somebody else.
Exactly. It'll be somebody else. I guarantee it'll be somebody else who cracks a one wish willow. It'll be a whole different situation. If he was smart, he would turn this into an anthology series. Every movie will have its own story, its own characters, its own situation with tie-ins to the original. That is what a good horror sequel is.
Not only that, but now that I'm thinking about it, it doesn't have to be about love. It could be about your job. Like, I wish I got that promotion.
Exactly.
You know what? Now that I think about it, okay, yeah,
exactly.
I'm on board with it now. I had to think about it for a moment, but just don't do that creepy shit from the first one. That shit still fucks me up. Anyway, back to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
The cast, we have Tom Holland returning as Peter Parker / Spider-Man, Zendaya returning as MJ, and of course Jacob Batalon as Ned. I love Ned. He's such a great character, by the way.
I like Ned.
I just hope they don't turn him into a bad guy like they did in the comics, because Ned became the Green Goblin in the comics. Yeah.
Damn. That's disappointing. Dude, that would be heartbreaking.
Yep.
Now they have to do it.
Yeah.
Now they fucking have to, now that you told me that.
John Bernthal as Frank Castle or the Punisher. I'm sorry. I've liked him since The Walking Dead. He's such a great actor.
I agree.
And the rapport that he and Spidey have is just uncanny. It's fucking fun. It's like the yin and the yang. You got the good, you got the bad. I'm going to kill everybody. What do you got to kill everybody for? Just that little banter between the two. Michael Mando returns as Scorpion. And I want to say this, and I know in Amazing Spider-Man 2, when we got the Rhino in that giant Rhino suit that just looked so yuck, it was refreshing to see the Scorpion in an actual Scorpion suit. And it looked like a scorpion, and I was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm all for that." I wanted to see more comic accurate shit, and I was so on board with that.
More villains that we haven't seen in the films yet. Yes.
Now, speaking of comic accurate, Crondon, I think that's how you say his name, returns as Tombstone, the albino dude with the white hair. We see him very briefly in this movie, as he's the very beginning when he's making the city safer, and everybody loves Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We get Florence Pugh returning as Black Widow in The Pool. That was one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Mark Ruffalo returning as Dr. Bruce Banner in The Hulk. And at that point, you're like, where the fuck's the Scarlet Witch? Because the same scenario pretty much happened here that happened in, what was it, Age of Ultron, I think it was?
Something like that.
Finally, and again, spoilers are coming, Sadie Sink as, and before I say who she played, I want to say this. Seeing her, how she looks in real life, it reminded me of when Star Trek Into Darkness came out. It's not Khan. It's not Khan. Oh, no, it's not Khan. They fucking deflected so much. And then we watched the movie. My name is Khan Tyr. And so when we finally figure out that Sadie Sink is playing,
before you say her name, let me paint you my perspective watching this movie in the theater, because I'm sitting there thinking, okay, you got somebody who's a telepathic and they're jumping all around, and I'm not completely up on what they're doing moving forward, because I saw the trailer for Avengers Doomsday. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's it's not that exciting, but it gives us some things we already knew were coming. But the whole time I was like, who could it be? And I am sad to say I did not figure it out before they announced what her name was. And I was just like,
yeah,
okay.
I knew who it was before the movie started, because at Comic-Con,
somebody ruined it.
No, nobody ruined it. Well, not necessarily ruined it, but they had the panel for Doomsday on there, and Ryan Reynolds was dressed up as Deadpool, but he was wearing the gray uniform. The color of that uniform is Jean Grey. That is the color of that's the name of that particular color, is Jean Grey. He was dropping a huge bombshell.
Wow.
So,
back
to what I said, spoiler alert, Sadie Sink plays Jean Grey, or specifically Jean Elaine Grey. Okay. And it didn't ruin the movie for me. I was actually, and the fact that she could jump from person to person, it's okay, that's what a telepath can do. They can kind of control that way. And she's still learning how to use her powers. She's not even close to the Omega level mutant that she's going to become down the road. She is still learning. But we get a quick little thing at the beginning. Spider-Man is pretty much, everybody loves Spider-Man. Oh my God, Spider-Man saves the day. He's this, and this, and this. But he can't help but wonder, and he keeps track of MJ and Ned as they went to MIT. They got their degrees. They did all this stuff. And it turns out that Ned created an app called the Spidey Tracker. So, he's like a huge Spider-Man, even though he knew, he was like the first one that found out. He's like, I have two people that I figured out who Spider-Man is. And he raises the paper, and it was fucking
Flash Thompson.
Zach Thompson. Or Flash Thompson, I'm sorry. And then the teacher, and I'm like, and then I love how Ned goes, well, if you knew who they were, you would understand those were very, very not obvious choices. And I'm just like, wow, way to throw them under the bus.
No kidding. I find it funny how even though they don't remember him anymore, he's still very closely tied to the Spider-Man person for what he is. He's still fascinated by him like he was before.
And that comes into play at the very end of the movie when they do the handshake. And they kind of left it there to interpretation. But it's one of those things where when we get a couple tie-ins with with the Punisher and, of course, Spider-Man. Spider-Man's trying to stop a tank. Damage control, I think, is being run by Hydra at this point because they're so fucking corrupt. Oh my fucking God. Tony Stark would be rolling in his grave right now if he saw that.
No kidding.
They're doing experiments on mutants and not talking. And we never hear the word mutant in this movie. We never hear it.
No,
which is fine. Which is fine. They call her a telepath. That's fine. I'm okay with them not dropping that name or that word. They've only done it once, and that was in the Miss Marvel series. That the guy called her a mutant at the very end of it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, you haven't watched it yet, have you?
No, I did. I just haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, it was like the very last episode. Yeah, it was the very last episode. The guy, the love interest, was like, "You're a mutant." Like, oh, he said it. He said it. Yeah.
He said it.
Or he's like Leonardo DiCaprio and Wolf of Wall Street. Oh, but
no,
we start to see that Spidey's making the change. Now, my first interpretation of this was the symbiote, because the eyes turned black. His eyes would turn black when he was starting to get overwhelmed with the arachnid DNA. And he was starting to form the webbing in his arms, just like the Tobey Maguire Peter Parker did. Which again, I was against that in the first ones. I'm like, no, this takes away the genius of Peter Parker. It really does. Peter Parker is a Reed Richards, Bruce Banner, Tony Stark level genius, and you just took that away from him creating his own webbing,
which is fair. But my interpretation was, well, when you have a multiverse theory and you have so many different versions of Spider-Man, it's conceivable that somewhere along the way, at least one of them would have their own organic webbing. Let's just be thankful that it went out of his wrists and not where it's supposed to go based on anatomy of a spider. Let's just throw that out there.
For those that don't know, spiders shoot the webbing out of their butt. So, spiders.
Yeah, and they do make that comment in No Way Home about, do you shoot it at anywhere else? No, and I'd rather not talk about it.
Yeah,
or whatever he says. It's like, I don't feel comfortable with this.
But because Peter is, bitten by a radioactive spider, he's going through a metamorphosis. He's going through a change, and it's like a stage of puberty, so to speak, to the point where the stress of everything is. It's like Spider-Man 2 all over again, but better, if you think about it.
It had me worried there for a while because I was like, okay, so are we going to do the whole thing where he's going to potentially sprout extra arms like what happened on the cartoon?
But yeah, that was my worry too. That was my worry too. Yeah.
But I mean, the webbing was eerie enough as it was. He wakes up in a web cocoon and he goes back into his room and the webbing looks different than what we've seen before. It looks totally different now.
It looks real.
Yeah.
It's not the fake webbing that he's able to make himself. So, we're jumping everywhere, but he decides to go talk to Bruce Banner, and Bruce Banner is wearing an inhibitor on his arm to prevent the Hulk from coming out, which is smart. I guess that's okay. But he does make the comment. He makes the comment, if you see me without this on, run. So, but then again, he doesn't know he's Spider-Man though either. That plays huge into this.
That's very true. Is that how things ended for the Hulk on She-Hulk? Because I didn't see it yet.
As far as what? Spider-Man?
No, it's the Hulk, because I know he was on the show. Because he was still the green, happy Hulk.
Yeah,
he was some of the scenes I've seen, but now all of a sudden he's got this inhibitor. So you saw She-Hulk, right? I mean,
I did, and he didn't have the inhibitor chip on that show.
Okay,
that's something else he did down the road.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so that's something he did in between She-Hulk and this particular movie. But they start having a chat about inhibitor chips. He could make a universal one that could work on anybody. And of course, they're starting to raise some flags on Bruce's side. He's like, what would you say your name was again? And, again, nobody remembers who the fuck Peter Parker is, or Spider-Man, or just Peter Parker in general. Nobody remembers who he is. That was the side effect of the spell that Doctor Strange did, is that nobody will remember him, even the loved ones that he has in his life, which is why he had to say goodbye to Ned and MJ and wrote the letter that was in the fucking coffee cup, which he kept the coffee cup she gave him.
Yeah, and quite frankly, having to sit from afar for 4 years while they're going to MIT, because I looked that up. It's like, they were there for 4 fucking years, and he had to sit there and just be in the background watching Ned's videos. He's posting videos of different things they're doing together in college, and he's like a fan of the page. He's constantly watching the shit, and it's like, man, that's gotta hurt.
What I thought was funny is that MJ makes the comment in one of the videos, why are you posting these? Nobody's watching it. And Dad's like, well, somebody's watching. And then MJ's
somebody's watching.
MJ's like, well, hello to whoever's watching. So, obviously MJ has not lost her touch. I'll let you talk more about it, because I can ramble on forever about this, but Your takes on this movie?
Honestly, I'm still tripping about the fact that we have Jean Grey, and quite frankly, we have a younger version of her, which we never got in the original films. So, and frankly, the actress that's playing her, it took me maybe a minute to realize who she was. I didn't look up the cast before the movie, and I do like her work. I liked her in Stranger Things. I liked her in that. And then she was in The Whale with Brendan Fraser, the movie that he won the Academy Award for. She played his daughter. And I enjoyed her in that movie as well. He definitely earned that Oscar, by the way. Majorly earned that shit. And you know what? I'm happy with her playing Jean moving forward. I enjoyed this idea. And I'm kind of curious. Okay, so we've introduced one. How long is it going to be, or how long until between now and Doomsday or at Doomsday that we're going to implement the rest of the potential mutants in this world? How is that going to play out?
Well, we've already got Gambit. We already got Gambit.
Very true. And we already know he's going to be in the Doomsday anyway. So
yeah, but she's like, Jean Grey is just, we think she's the bad guy in the story. Which
for the majority
she's doing some pretty bad guy stuff.
It's a shame that it's a shame that Peter doesn't know that going in. He ends up kind of feeding her to what were they called? Damage control?
Damage control, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of helps them capture her, thinking that she's the enemy the whole time. And let's be fair here, dude. The way she presented herself, she comes off as a villain 100%, especially the way she's tormenting Peter, trying to get into his mind, totally fucking with him, even going so far to potentially put MJ in danger. What the fuck? Well, why would you do that if you weren't the bad person? But again, she had her sights set on what she wanted to do. That's find her sister. That's what the whole thing was all about. She's trying to find her kidnapped sister. She's got a couple of random weird clues that don't really paint a very good picture, but she's not doing a good job of telling anybody because she doesn't trust anybody. So it makes sense that why she's doing what she's doing and acting the way she is. But I thought she was very satisfying for the movie. Very much.
I like the fact that she tried to go into Peter's mind and she couldn't. It kicked her out and she was like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, you know, she'd never had that happen before. And it makes you wonder, like, what did Peter possess besides the and I love when Peter was going through the change, we saw the Peter tingle, as Aunt May called it, but the spider sense in a slow motion. It was very much like in the original Tobey Maguire one, where we see everything kind of slow down and everything kind of just, it was very, very surreal to see in this. We've never really seen it before. Except
I'll take it as
the only time we've ever really seen it is in Infinity War when Peter's on the bus and the hair is on his arm raised up, and he's like, and he looks out the window, this big ass fucking ship. He's like, oh fuck, I gotta go. Ned, make a distraction. Oh my God, there's a fucking ship. We're gonna die. And then what? And then you got Stanley on the bus. Yeah, I'd never seen a spaceship before.
Yeah, really. Just add that to the list of things that New Yorkers see on a fucking regular.
Yeah, no shit.
But
yeah, just, and then we have this interaction with the Punisher. Apparently Spider-Man saved him on Staten Island or some shit. So they talk about that for a while, but Jean Grey is adamant on hurting Peter for some fucking reason, just because he's helping damage control. So he ends up putting MJ in danger, and she even contests to him, okay, I bet I can meet you there. So while they're going to meet up with MJ, Peter has, I don't know how he acquired it, but he got like a 3D printer, and he has Eve as his AI in his head and everything else. Like the suit has AI, like the original suit that Tony gave him.
Yeah, it makes me wonder where he got all that tech from. I thought I don't know.
I don't either. And it's never explained, and I'm okay with it. Maybe he just acquired it over time. He's quite intelligent, you know. And again, the suit that he had prior, he may have just kept the AI and kept it in the suit, just transferred from one to the other. Nothing wrong with that. It was a gift from Tony, so why not keep it?
Exactly.
But as they're getting to catch up with MJ, Peter's having Eve analyze everything, try to figure out what her radius is that she can jump. And it takes him on, he's like 33 feet. Cool. So she's in the fucking helicopter. We already know she can't jump into Peter's head. So Peter fucking webs up the helicopter in the middle of the ocean, up high, and goes, yeah, good luck. And then is able to save MJ, which I thought was fucking brilliant. But dude, that's fucking smart.
That was, because I'm sitting there thinking, what exactly is his angle? Why is he so concerned with that? And then when he traps her, it was like, God damn, dude, that's a fucking brilliant. Very nice.
It's like when he fought Doctor Strange in the other Spider-Man. He's like, oh, this is geometry. We're good at geometry. And so he's able to figure it out fairly quickly. Again, he's fucking intelligent. He's fucking smart. again, that's why I hate that they took that away from him in the original Tobey Maguire ones. And Tobey Maguire cried a lot in those movies too. Oh, my uncle died. Ooh. Well, they attacked Aunt May. Ooh. Oh, Mary Jane's upset because they didn't go to the play. Ooh. You know, come on. Fucking man up, boy. You're supposed to be fucking Spider-Man. Fuck off.
One thing I was going to say about the whole tingle thing or the whole spider sense.
The Peter
would
tingle?
you count this? Yeah, the Peter tingle. Would you count the scene in Amazing Spider-Man Part 2 when he's fighting Electro for the first time and he's doing the backflip and there's all kinds of stuff going on and he's able to analyze everything that's going on around him to completely save everybody for just doing basic things? Because that's the best display I think of the spider sense I've ever seen.
Agree.
I love that scene,
especially when he puts his thumb over the web shooter and is able to shoot it out. And we kind of see that in the battle with the ninjas at the end of the movie too. Peter does something very similar to that to spin all of that. And this is all organic too. So, you know, it is what it is. But Peter meets up with MJ and says, look, I got to save you. You're in trouble. I need to take you somewhere. So where does he take her? The Punisher's place.
Oh, yeah.
To the Punisher. Because he knew she'd be safe there, that Frank would protect her.
Well, and after he got past the booby traps.
Oh my God, yeah.
Remember the booby traps?
I forgot about booby
traps. It's like, dude, you could have killed somebody. Like, what the fuck? But you know what? He's the Punisher. I can't say I'm surprised by it.
No, I'm not either.
Not even a little bit.
But, you know, Peter and Frank are having their debate back and forth. And finally Frank's like, fine. Are you hungry? I made chili. And then he walks inside and Peter looks at MJ and goes, I wouldn't touch the chili.
You make him feel bad.
And, you know, they're trying to figure out, because Peter makes an Liberty chip. He makes one, but it's not working. It keeps overheating. And Peter's on the computer. He's trying to figure it out. He cannot put two and two together. And then MJ is helping him. And she said that she had a different degree planned prior to the one she has now. And she was like, maybe you're giving off some sort of radiation. He's like, I don't know. No, I don't give off radiation. And she's like, what about those? And she points to his eyes. The eyes kind of reflect on his mood. And he's like, holy crap, he didn't even think about that. So he had to compensate for that, for it to work. And it's just, again, MJ fucking smart too.
Going to show that she's still helping him out, even though she has no damn clue who he is.
She has no fucking clue who he is. There is a moment, there was a moment where Jean Grey encounters MJ's mind. They exchange the kiss and he thinks it's her, and then we find out it wasn't her, and of course Jean Grey has to rub that in his face. It wasn't really her. And of course Peter tells her later on that, yeah, when she was in your mind we had a kiss. I just wanted you to know that. Peter's a good dude. He doesn't want to lead anybody on or stuff like that, but it's just,
that was dirty. That was so dirty.
Not even that. I feel bad for Peter because he legitimately fucking loves this girl. And he's had to sit back and watch for 4 years. And he promised, she come find me. I'll remember who you are. Obviously not, because she doesn't remember who the fuck he is. And that's not her fault. You can't put any blame on her.
No.
When he tells her, I love you. I've always loved you. And she's like, I don't know you, so I don't love you that way. And it's the closure I think he needed, because he needed that put. But then again, when they finally capture Jean, they take her to damage control. MJ's like, you know what? You should come back to the apartment and meet Ned. You know, Ned would get a kick out of this. And it was such a cool scene. She's reading a magazine or on her phone or whatever, and freaking Ned and Peter are putting together a fucking Lego set, a Star Wars Lego set. As a matter of fact, on his TV in his computer room, if you looked up, he was watching Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, that's a nice nod to Civil War.
The Civil War. You see this old movie called Empire Strikes Back? Jesus, Tony, how old is this kid? I didn't carbon date him. Shut the fuck up, listen to what he has to say. But they have a great moment. And Peter even tells MJ, you know, I miss this. I haven't had this in 4 years. And she's like, well, you should tell Ned. I think he could take it. Which he don't think he ever does.
No, he doesn't. Not officially. But you talked about the handshake, and at the end, it's like as soon as they do the handshake, they both did it in unison, and then he's like, Peter, and then it ended. It was like
the movie was over, and I'm like,
what the fuck, guys?
Like, did he just remember him automatically?
Yeah, that's a lot of questions, guys. A lot of questions.
I will say this: when Peter and MJ kiss each other, I was sitting there going, "Oh, please, God, do not pull Superman 2 on me right now. Do not pull the magic kiss where she. Oh my God, I remember who you are."
No.
I was like, please don't do that to me. And they didn't, thank God. But
you know what, dude? That scene when Jean is fucking with him, making him think that MJ remembered him, that, from my perspective, is one of the most heart-wrenching scenes of the movie because he finally lets go. It finally looks like she remembers him after all that time, just to find out it was a slap in the face.
no.
That's so fucking heartbreaking.
And
then on top of that, later on, after she's at Frank's house, he makes the mistake of leaving the damn letter out where she can find it that he wrote her 4 years ago, explaining everything. And she read the whole fucking letter. And yeah, but like you said, I think that was a bit of closure that the character really kind of needed to kind of move on.
He did.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
He needed to walk away from that. So that was, if he did it on purpose or not, it was done. She read it. She saw it. She called him on it. But we find out that there's what was the right before they capture Jean Grey, she looks at Peter or at Spider-Man and says Sarah, and then passes out. And then he asked the head of damage control. She said something about Sarah. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. I'm the bad guy. I'm going to walk away now because I'm doing bad guy things. Turns out Sarah is Jean Grey's sister. And anybody who's read a comic would know that's accurate. And she is also a telepath. And when their mother found out that they were different, she just stopped caring about them. So they were pretty much on their own. As
a lot of parents of mutants tend to do.
Yeah, Iceman was a good example of that. In the second movie,
Rogue,
the
Rogue.
Iceman. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying Rogue had the same problem.
Oh, yeah. The Rogue, definitely. Oh, God.
Father turned her back on her real quick.
Wolverine to a point. But then again, that was the father more than the mother. Although I don't know how accurate that was. That Wolverine Origins movie was just so horrible. So
honestly, believe it or not, some of the stuff they touched on in the first couple of minutes were fairly accurate from what I have read about that particular Origins comic, but only so much. Like the whole thing about him having the bone claws and all that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they were always a part of him. I thought that was something that they gave him when they, because when I watched the old cartoon, I thought they gave him those claws. I didn't know he was born with them. So
it's funny because they talk about that on Big Bang Theory when they're in the comic book store. How
Yep, I love that part.
Yeah, they go. I think it was what the fuck was his name?
What
the guy that went to MIT? Fuck.
Which one went to MIT?
Jesus Christ.
Shit.
But Sheldon's trying to say, oh no, he had bone claws, and then the other guy's like, I don't. There's never been anything in comics about, and they're also talking about Kryptonian sweat glands and shit like that. They're diving deep into nerddom at that point. I'm like, y'all need to find hobbies or girlfriends or something because
exactly.
Yeah, but Peter's been talking to the new Black Widow, Florence Pugh. She's been talking to her, and she's like, and she tells him, no, these are small potatoes that you're dealing with right now. The new Avengers, we deal with the big potatoes, which I thought was a clever way to talk about your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We deal with the big shit. And then he starts talking to her about different things. And she's like, this sounds like big potato stuff. So she starts feeding him information. We find out that there's a lot more going on in damage control than we think. So Peter decides to go back and confront. Meanwhile, they are torturing Jean Grey. They are probing her mind, trying to see if they can duplicate this power, which they will never be able to.
No.
Peter shows up, the guards are there, and they're on high alert. So he takes out the guards fairly quickly. Now, earlier in the movie, they talked about how he took down an assassin ninja gang. They end up becoming the damage control guards, which when I saw that, I went, that's a red flag. But, I didn't trust the dude from day one either, by the way. I'm like, this dude's evil. No. This dude is going to be the bad guy, so to speak. And when we see him torturing Jean Grey and just not caring, and the fact that they were calling it VMAX, I think is what it was.
Yeah, it was VMAX.
Turns out VMAX was the last thing she saw before Sarah died. And it was the freaking air conditioning vent on the very top with the other words covered up. All you saw was the letter V and Max. That was the last thing she saw with those letters.
Reminds me of V'ger from Star Trek Motion Picture.
That was the first thing I thought up too. But Peter decides he's going in, and he's, the CEO guy sends the ninjas to go stop Peter. And this is when we find out that damage control has weapons that can stop Spider-Man. And Jean Grey says, why do you think they have these? It's almost like a Batman contingency plan. They have them in case you go rogue.
That's exactly what I thought. That's exactly what came to mind.
Yeah, it's fucking Batman. Again, this is DC versus Marvel at this point, but they're beating the living shit out of Peter. Like, Peter just cannot hold it together.
No.
And then she's like, who do you want to be? Peter Parker, or do you want to be the Spider? And again, I honestly thought this was a symbiote because the way when it turned on, when he fought the Scorpion and ripped his fucking tail off and almost killed a cop, it was very reminiscent of the fucking symbiote from Spider-Man 3 because his eyes would turn black. He would get very evil.
Very aggressive. That's the way it should be with the symbiote.
So you can understand why I'm thinking this dude's fucking got the symbiote somewhere. No, it's just the arachnid gene has overtaken the body. He's changing. It will level out. Spiders have 3 stages in their life. He's about to go through number 2, but it makes him stronger. And she's like, who do you want to be, Peter Parker or Spider-Man? And then he's like, I can be both. And then he just annihilates these people. He takes off the chip. He destroys it. We think we're good. No, I think we might have skipped a part 2 because we have a Hulk.
Yeah, we have a Hulk in this movie. Yeah.
And he doesn't have the chip on him.
Oh boy.
So yeah.
Gene
the fight between Spider-Man and the Hulk. Whoa.
Yeah.
Intense. Wow. And again,
pretty much what I would have expected.
Mind control comes into play because she's able to inhibit his mind, and Banner's like, get away. He already knows, get the fuck away because there is no Banner, only Hulk. And he just fucking becomes full-on rage monster. And I'm just like, holy shit. And even, I love how the banter between Spider-Man and the Punisher, they're sitting there debating, and finally Peter's like, you don't want to fight the Hulk, do you? And Frank goes, not really.
No, not really. It's like, well, okay, fine.
At least the man's
on.
I
mean, who the hell wants to fight the Hulk? Look what happened to Loki. After that, he pissed himself after seeing him in Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As soon as he saw him, he was like, I
gotta get out of here. Where you going? I am Hulk. No. Hulk like fire.
But you know what? I will at least say this. Between Frank Castle and the Hulk, at least they didn't feel like they were shoehorned in. That was one of my bigger fears. At least they had a purpose of being there. There was great chemistry he had between both characters, and they had a point of being in the movie. So especially with Frank Castle after everything everything goes down and whatnot, and what he does for Spider-Man afterwards, which I thought was a class act. That was actually nice. But
yeah, that was pretty cool. The fact that Spider-Man attached all that dead weight to Hulk and he finally falls to the ground. I do love when he finally comes to and he's back to being Bruce Banner. Oh my God, did I hurt anybody? He's super worried. Oh my God, who did I hurt? Who did I hurt? Nobody was hurt, just you. Okay. He's relieved.
You can sleep better.
But
that's always been one of his bigger fears, is that hurting somebody while he's out of control.
Yeah. So. And he understands that. So he tries to, that's why when we see him in Avengers, he's in the middle of nowhere. So that way he can't hurt anybody. But we finally free Jean. We have the moment where Spider-Man's talking her down, trying to figure out what's going on. She had released some sort of super mind control where everybody within a kilometer was just frozen. Frank was just on the outside of it. He decides he's going to handle things his way. So he goes to the rooftop. He pulls out his 50 caliber sniper rifle. He's ready to go. Freaking Jean Grey invades his mind, Peter Parker's mind, but she's sitting in the place of Peter while Aunt May is talking to him about a conversation they had prior. They have a moment where they're like, she would have loved you. You're a good person. You just have had some really shitty things happen to you. They embrace that everything is fine. She releases the thing. And then Frank pulls the trigger. And because Spider-Man senses are more acute now, he sees it coming. Mm-hmm. And instead of pushing her out of the way, he takes the bullet in the back for her.
Yeah.
And almost dies because of it.
Almost.
The only reason it wasn't because Frank got him to the hospital quick. It's because she was breathing for him telepathically. She saved his life as a little thank you for making me realize the error of my ways. Of course, Peter wakes up. He doesn't have the costume on anymore. The mask is off. He's got a oxygen mask on. Him and Frank have that really awesome moment where they talk to each other. And Frank kind of breaks. Are you crying? Fuck you, kid. I'm not crying. Whatever.
No, I'm not crying. Leave me alone.
I'm not crying. It was a very sweet moment. And Frank's like, if you want to get out of here, I have an idea. If you want to walk out of here on your own accord, you can leave. But I have an idea. Because nobody knows who Peter Parker is or Spider-Man is. So he walks out the front door, limping, scarred up, whatever. And then you hear the crowd cheering. Oh my God, it's Spider-Man. I'm thinking, oh no, did somebody tell? They look up in the window. Frank put on a hoodie and the Spider-Man mask. And he's like, yeah, woo! And I'm just sitting there going, that dude's having the time of his life right now. being the center of attention.
kind
But
of, sort of.
it's funny because when MJ opened in Frank's place, she opens up this cabinet and sees this shrine to his family that he lost. She's like, "Is this your family? We don't touch my shit in my place." He lost his fucking family. So I think this is the first time in a long time he actually had fun. He was enjoying being the center of attention without it being in a negative way. So
yeah, his story is tragic. I do remember the original film. It
Yeah.
sucks.
I need to go back and watch that one again because that was a good movie. That was
great. Thomas Jane was a great Punisher as far as I'm
Yeah, I
concerned.
agree. We get a moment where Peter Parker, this is the very end of the movie, Peter Parker is in the place that he's at, and he sees Ned sitting there by himself, and he walks up and goes, "Hey, how you doing?" And he's like, "You're the flower guy." And then Peter sits there for a minute and goes, "Actually, my name is Peter Parker." And he reaches out to shake his hand, and they do the little handshake that they do, and it ends with the two hands pointing at each other. And then Ned just kind of, Peter? Credits. And I'm like, what? No, you cannot end it like that. But here, again, we have spoilers here. The post-credit scene, and the Spider-Man movies never really had anything really big when it came to post-credit scenes for the next movies. However, this one paints a very big picture because we have the spider tracker. Like, he's detected, unknown, and it's zooming out. And then it goes to the moon and then just past the moon. Bing, bing, detected. And the guy sitting next to me goes, "I don't get it." And I'm like, dude, it's either Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield. The three planets are coming together just like they showed us in the trailer for Doomsday. One of them is coming back. We just don't know which one yet. My bet's on Tobey Maguire.
I'll
The
go for
movie
Andrew.
ends right there. Now, again, Scuba can't be here, and we went all over the place on this movie. But I'm going to read.
We covered the basic
covered the
gist of
basics.
the movie.
But I'm going to read. Scuba, before we hit record, sent me his analysis of the movie, and he sent me his grade as well. So I'm going to read this. This is from Lord Scuba Cobra himself. Let's see. "Hello, webheads. It's Lord Scuba Cobra here. Unfortunately, I couldn't make the episode, but I still wanted to share my thoughts on the new Spider-Man movie. What I love most is that this actually felt like a Spider-Man movie instead of another Avengers crossover with Spider-Man along for the ride. The focus stayed on Peter in his world, and I think the movie is better because of it. Keeping the supporting heroes at the street level with Frank Castle and Black Widow was a fantastic decision, especially considering the type of villain we got. They complicated the story without they complemented the story without overshadowing Spider-Man. The inclusion of Hulk as an antagonist was another highlight. Even though it was brief, it added a huge sense of danger and made for some incredibly memorable moments. I also see Sadie Sink was an excellent choice as Jean Grey. She brought a lot of intrigue to the role, and I'm excited to see where Marvel takes that character next. The emotional side of the story hit just as hard as the action. Watching Peter deal with the loss of those relationships was heartbreaking, but seeing the trio begin to find their way back to each other gave the ending a hopeful note that really landed for me. And finally, I have to talk about New York. The city felt like a character all by itself. The cinematography constantly reminded you that Spider-Man belongs there, and every swing through the skyline made the city feel alive. It wasn't just a backdrop. It was part of the story, and I think the film absolutely nailed that. Overall, I had a great time with it, and I can't wait to see where Spider-Man's story goes from here. Wow.
Amen.
Jesus, man.
And we know
That
this
has
is
to
the
be
first
AI.
of a new trilogy. So
That has to be AI. No, I'm sure Scuba's a great writer. He really is. He's got an awesome way with words. I know I passed off this particular task to Scuba, but he's not here, so I'll do it real quick. And that is going to be the Rotten Tomatoes. Just real quick, what do you think the critics versus the fans ratings are going to be?
I haven't seen anything. I'm going to rate high for the opening weekend. I'm going to say sensible 85.
For the critics,
Maybe
it's actually 90%.
Okay.
So it's high. Now, hang on. I'm going to go with what I have. I checked this like yesterday. The fan score.
About the same, if not higher, like 95, 100.
It's actually 98%.
Pretty close.
Not too bad. Yeah, you're a little choppy over there. I don't know what's going on, but you're a little choppy. So I don't know. Anyway, but again, here at the Real Movie Critics, we don't give a shit about Rotten Tomatoes. We care about what we think. So we try to make it different. Now, Scuba had mentioned inhibitor chips. I could not find a picture of one by itself without removing the background. So I'm going to go with my original idea, and that is the Spider-Man logo. That seems to be the safe thing to do. I have Scuba's score here. He gave it a 4.5. Fairly sound. Psycho Nerd, I want to know what you thought of this movie.
After the first viewing, I had a couple of chances of watching it a second time, which I would have preferred to do before doing this, just so I could have that, second viewing out of the way. But as of right now, I have to agree. 4.5. I really couldn't think of anything major to complain about with this movie. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed all the actors that we got playing the characters. I thought there was a lot of good camaraderie going on. There was only one thing that I was confused by. It's like you have that scene where Peter, Ned, and MJ are all sitting around having their little conversation, but yet maybe I missed something. When Peter sees him at the end of the film, Ned acts like he doesn't remember him from before. Was that something that I missed along the way?
Probably. He probably didn't remember. He probably just saw him very briefly and didn't remember. Because
Well,
remember,
they had that whole scene at the apartment, and it's like he didn't remember him after that. And I was like, why not?
He wasn't there very long to kind of interact. And again, you see a face of the crowd, you don't really remember them half the time anyway. And plus, he didn't give a real name either. He said his name was Maynard or something like that.
Something.
So that could be part of it too.
I just thought that was a little confusing. That's, again, another reason why I wanted to watch it a second time. Like, maybe there's a detail in there somewhere I missed, but other than that, I can't think of anything else as a negative, a complaint, nitpick. I can't think of anything. I had a lot of fun with this movie, and just like what Scuba said, I'm intrigued on what we're going to be doing with this, because I know this is going to be the first of a trilogy, for what I've read, a new trilogy. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go moving forward with all this, especially with Doomsday and Secret Wars coming around the corner. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I agree. I also give it a 4.5. It's more of a nitpick than anything else, but we know that Doctor Strange wiped the memories of everybody of him being Peter Parker or him being Spider-Man. But what about those videos that Mysterio put online? Did those disappear with it too?
I saw a thing about this. Somebody was asking a question about if he did that, what happened to all the videos, all the text messages, and everything else. So that tells me that all of that just disappears. Like, okay, yeah, it all goes away. That's my interpretation. So,
but at the end of the day, this was a great movie. It wasn't perfect. I wasn't going to give it a 5. It's definitely not a perfect movie, but it definitely, and I agree with what Scuba said, the Hulk didn't overshadow the movie. The Punisher didn't overshadow the movie. Jean Grey as the quote unquote bad guy was kind of just hiding. And again, when I first saw the CEO from Damage Control, I was like, this dude's the bad guy. He's evil. He's just a fucking piece of shit. So definitely was not feeling him.
One thing I forgot to mention, the cop that Peter is in communication with the entire film.
We never talked about
it. I enjoyed that. No, that was very reminiscent in my mind of the whole thing between Batman and what's his name?
Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon, thank you. It was very similar to that.
Yeah, this is a great fucking movie. I kind of want to go see it again. They really have not done a bad Spider-Man movie since the MCU took over. They've all been banging. Homecoming, No Way Home, I forget the other ones, and then Brand New Day. They've all been really good. They've all told a great story, especially the third one where it's right after the loss of Tony Stark and he's having to deal with that. And then just finding out that this false friend is just trying to rob him of a gift that was given to him by Tony, and he ends up having to lose everything he has. It is what it is. But yeah, it is a great fucking movie. But yeah, this will conclude our spoiler-filled review of the movie. Again, we went all over the place. Again, we only got to see it one time over the weekend. Life got in the way. We won't go into details about that. Plus, this was SummerSlam weekend, and that was the main focus. So, but
damn you, 2 nights.
Yeah.
Damn you.
2 nights of SummerSlam, man. Fuck. So, and I have to edit both this episode and the night 2 SummerSlam episodes tonight before I go to bed. So, yay. For that being said, Psycho Nerd, promote your shit.
All right. Well, you can find my podcast on YouTube, Psycho Nerd Podcast, or you can go straight to my YouTube channel, Repeat Movie Viewer. That's where all my podcasts are, including all my videos. Hasn't been any new videos in the past week, but that's okay. I'm currently in the middle of working on many Pete's House episodes that all pertain to my trip to Fantastic Fest in 2024. That's a major project I'm currently working on. And not to mention, here in a couple of weeks, we're finally going to get a movie listing of what's going to be playing at the festival. Expect I will be doing plenty of coverage of that as well. So it's getting very exciting right now. We're right around the corner at this point. It's just like, getting pumped.
I know Scuba's not here to promote the Going More, but I'll do it for him. Make sure you watch the Going More podcast. That's every Monday. They have it on Facebook as well as YouTube. The link to the YouTube page is down below. What movie did he say they were watching this week? I don't remember.
Oh, crap. Hold on. Trying to remember. Dangerous Animals, the shark movie that came out last year with Joey Jay Courtney, the guy from
Okay.
fucking Terminator Genesis. Reese.
Yeah, so Dangerous
Or not
Animals
Reese,
will be
fucking-
the movie,
yeah.
the movie this week for Gore and More. So make sure, again, the link is down in the description below. Make sure you give them a like, subscribe, and a follow. Scuba does give me a shout out. He had to watch The Burbs last week, didn't have a copy of it. And I'm like, it's not streaming anywhere. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I have a digital copy on my hard drive. So I did. So I uploaded it to my drive, shared it to him. So he was able to watch it, and he gave me a shout out on the show. And apparently I am the side piece to Scuba on the Gore and More, because he calls me the side piece, and they laugh. They think it's funny. I'm like, well, it is what it is. And, yeah. And as for this is the Real Movie Critics is a part of the Real Zodiac Productions YouTube page. And again, that's going to be both the Real Movie Critics and, of course, DJ Zodiac Podcast, Real Reviews by DJ Zodiac Podcast, the greatest wrestling podcast you've never heard of. Real Movie Critics is the real reviews by real fans. I get them confused sometimes. It's been a long fucking day. I did not get one, and I'm pissed. I did not get one of those. If you get another one,
I got one.
If you get another one, let me have it.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
Well, whatever. Maybe. But again, you can find both DJ Zodiac Podcast as well as the Real Movie Critics on YouTube on the same page together, as well as on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We are currently sitting at 81 subscribers currently on the YouTube page. Let's get us up to 100, guys. Come on, let's get those numbers up there. But again, this will conclude our review of Spider-Man Brand New Day, and that will be our final word on today's movie. And whether you loved it, hated it, or fell asleep halfway through and woke up wondering what the fuck just happened, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And I do want to know, if you fell asleep during this movie, how the fuck did you pull that off? This movie was fucking amazing, by the way.
Why were you there if you were going to fall asleep during
that's my point.
a Spider-Man movie?
Yeah. So be sure to like, subscribe, follow, and leave a review wherever you get your podcast. But until next time, keep the popcorn hot, the drinks cold, and remember, kids, the credits may be rolling, but the conversation is just getting started. We will see you at the movies.
We get the final word.